Hi Blender fans and welcome to Blender TC. No one asked me earlier on in the week, would it be possible to make a billboard? I think I know what he meant, but this is just the way I personally would make a billboard. This is done in the same way that the pylon was made, and the pylon tutorial. I think the card's going to appear up in this corner, so if you want to click on that tutorial you can do. So let's begin. So we're going to make a simple billboard for no man, and we're just going to scale this in the X by 20 like so. So what I did there is I actually selected the cube and scaled in the X by 20, which actually increases it by 20. Pressing the tab key would take us into edit mode, and we're going to select this face and we're going to extrude by 2, which means this is another 2 meter cube on the end. And E by 2 just to do the other side, and I'm just going to select this face and extrude by 8 because I wish to, and I'm going to extrude it by a further 2 to make our basic shape. Selecting this face and this face, what we can do is then press bridge faces. You've got point select, line select and face select. For this to work, it's got to be on face select, so right, and what we can do is bridge faces, which of course will fill in the outside edges and make a tube here. And if we get this face and we're just going to extrude, the purple lines appeared, so you know it's going to go straight up by 15 and extrude by further 2 just to put our cube on the top, and then select that face by holding the shift button down and clicking on the left mouse and bridge faces there. So we've basically got our very own stand for our billboard, and next what we'll do is actually select these 4 corners because we're going to make the legs to our billboard, and I'm just going to E by 8 just to make a little tabletop like so, and selecting this face and this face, we're going to actually bridge these as well, and selecting that face and that face on the corner, we'll just bridge these as well. So we've made our simple frame for our billboard. Let's just add a little bit more detail to this. So I'm just going to add in a cube, come back out of edit mode, add in a cube just to make the concrete blocks that we see on things. So I'm just going to scale that concrete block up, and I'm just going to move it down to the bottom of my leg. So G is the go key, Z restricts it in the Z direction, so I'm just going to duplicate it there. If we look from the front and press shift and D, we can actually G and X just to move it to one side, and selecting these 2 cubes here, we can shift and D just to duplicate them once more, and just put G, then the Y direction, so we just restricted it in the Y to simply make our model. So we've got our framework and our blocks, so we're more or less finished. So let's just show you how things work with the wire modifier. Select the wrench or spanner here in the corner and scroll down until you actually find a thing called wireframe. As you can see, you hit the wireframe modifier and it does something very strange, and the reason it's doing something very strange is that we haven't applied the scale on this model, and we need this to be uniform. So if we press the N key, this opens up this menu. Select the item up there, and as you can see the scale is all messed up. It says 20 there, 1 1. So what we want to do is make this read correctly, and the way we make this read correctly is just by making sure that you're in object mode and Control and A, and what you can hit all transforms, but I'm just going to rotation and scale, and as you can see it's now made these pipe work very thin, pardon me, and this is controlled by the thickness. So I'm just going to change this to 0.1, and as you can see, we've now got our framework of our billboard sign. But you'd say, well, that's not going to be very strong, and you'd be right. So let's just add some final detail. So pressing the tab key will take us into edit mode, and that's known because it's actually written up here. We're now going to do a thing called a loop cut, just add a bit more strength. So Control and R, Control Z. In fact, for some reason I've gone back into edit object mode there, so I'm pressing the tab key just to go back into edit mode. What we do is click on there, press Control and R, which will put a loop cut. If you type a number, say the 2, then that will actually give us 2 loop cuts. Pressing the mouse button twice will actually fix it. But what you can do also is actually move your mouse wheel if you like that way of doing things. I personally prefer the keyboard, and I'm just going to quickly add loop cuts to this. So Control Z will undo if you mess things up like that. So Control and R, +2, left click twice to fix. So Control R by 5, Control R, I'm pressing the 5 key just to actually split these by 5, Control R by 5, and I think I'll do that by Control R by 3 maybe. Split this by 3. As you can see, I'm actually hitting the left mouse button twice just to actually fix things. Control R without moving things. So Control R for 2. Control R for 2. Oh, I pressed 22 there. So Control Z to undo. Control R for 2. And Control R for 2. And the final one, Control R for 2. So if we actually now come out of edit mode, as you can see, we've added more detail to this, and it'd still be not very strong because we've got no cross members. Now sometimes you'd actually maybe want to triangulate things. So if we went onto this face and we right clicked and we say put a triangle on there, triangulate face, it'd do that and put a cross member in there, which might be the effect you want. Me personally, Control Z, I don't want that, so I'm just going to select everything, and I'm going to use a thing called poke faces, which puts crosses in every face. And pressing tab key, and we've finally got our framework, and if I think you'd agree, that would make quite a good base for our billboard. I'm just going to add in a mesh, and I'm going to add in a cube mesh, and I'm just going to scale this up. I'm just going to scale it in the Y direction by 0.01. I'm just going to scale this up until it's the desired size I want. So scale into Z. Now that's my billboard. Looking from the front, I'm just going to adjust it. Now scale it by the X and just move it into place where I want. It's a bit too far forward, so I'm backwards even. G and Y just to move it onto the front of things. So that's about it. I'm just going to add a couple of textures into this. I'm just going to add a bit of an emission texture because I'd like my framework to sort of glow a little bit and make it a, I don't know, a yellow colour. Yeah, maybe a yellow colour emission. And you can't see it because I'm not in edit mode, so there we are. We've got a glowing backlight. I'm just going to add a sun, and just rotate it arbitrarily. There we go. I'll just move it up there so it has things. So we've got our sun looking at our picture. We've got our glowing framework there. But because we've actually not applied this at all, we can actually change the thickness of our framework just to make it a lot stronger or weaker, depending on the effect you want to actually achieve. from your picture. Right, finally, I'm just going to add something a bit Christmassy onto my picture. So, looking from the front, I'm just going to select all. Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong thing selected there. So, selecting the cube that's on the front, I'm just going to call this my board. And, oops, bang my head on the actual mic. And go in a new image. I'm just going to add a darker colour and just assign that to all faces. Just assign it. And then I'm just going to add one other colour. And this is where I'm going to actually store my image. So I'll just call it image. And I'm going to go on the base colour, add in image texture. So we're now looking through the front. So select this front. I'm going to press the U key and project from view. And finally, I'll attach the image to this. So I'm going on base colour with the image selected. Open the image which I've got on Billboard. Now let's put a cat or something there, just something a little bit Christmassy. Make sure I'm in render mode, go into edit mode, and I'm just going to assign that image texture to this. And as you can see, it's all the wrong scale. So I'm just going to adjust the scale of my image by going into UV editing. And as you can see, my cat image there, I just selected all by pressing the A key and scale it up and scale in the Z and scale in the Y. There we go. In G, just to actually move it over our cat image like that. Go into render mode. So we've now made our billboard sign with our image. Go back into layout. And all we've got to do now is look through our camera. And as you can see, we're a bit too close. So go into view, click on our camera, and this will allow us to adjust. Gone too far back. And that's because we've only got our camera set to look 100 meters. I'm going to make it look 1000 meters. So, and then we'll lock our camera by just deselecting that. So we've now got a camera looking at our billboard image, and this could be used in a background. It's not particularly high poly, in fact it's very low poly. As you can see, it's quite effective. I hope this is what you actually wanted, Nomad. Oh, sorry, No Man. But if it's not, please leave a comment and we can actually do something else. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and thanks for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Yeah, the lighting's a bit rubbish. All you'd have to do is add some good lighting to this, but I'm just showing you the technique for actually making this model, not particularly for lighting this model. I wonder what happens if you actually add a bit of light in the top. X, G, Y, and maybe add, I don't know, let's add in a base, add in mesh, just a plane, just scale it up, something that can catch the shadows. G and Z, yeah, that's a bit more realistic. Let's move the sun around. Rotating the Z. Take it down, make it nice and dark. Yeah, starting to get atmospheric. Not sure about the glow on this, so I'm just going to turn that down a bit. Yeah, still not sure about the colour either. Let's turn it a bit bluey. That's more like it. Yeah, that's more appropriate for this image. Right. I think maybe that's ready for a render. Stop recording.